All right, guys, we are back to graphing. And now, how we're going to graph is you're going to be given equations in point slope form, and you're going to need to graph them. So, how I teach this is probably a little different, maybe, than some teachers. I don't teach you to graph it in point slope form, I teach you to graph it using slope intercept form. So remember that slope intercept form, so half these notes we don't even really need. Slope intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So our ultimate goal, I'm going to cover this up, no matter what, is to get all of our equations into slope intercept form. Once it's there, you should be okay with graphing them. So let's not take a look at any of this. This might be confusing, so I'm going to try to get that out of the picture. So like if I had number 1 here and I needed to graph it, what I would do is I would transform this equation like we did 2 lessons ago and get it into this slope intercept form. So notice first thing, slope intercept form has no parentheses. So to get rid of the parentheses, this has a slope of 1 out front. So we distribute the 1. And we have y minus 2 equals 1x. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Okay, so slope intercept form also has y completely by itself. So after you distribute, you have to move over whatever is with y. So you're going to add 2. So then you end up with y equals 1x, and then negative 1 plus 2 is a positive 1. So this is actually the graph this is actually the equation that I'm going to graph. So this equation has a slope of 1, which is 1 over 1, and it has a y-intercept of 1. Here's my slope, here's my y-intercept. When you graph, you plot your y-intercept first. So I go up to the y-axis right here. I go to 1 and I put a dot. That's my y-intercept. From there, I use my slope to find the next point. So I go up 1, right 1. There's my next point. And then you just play connect the dots and connect. That's all you're doing today. So let's take a look at another one. If we take a look at this equation and we need to graph this, first thing I'm going to do is convert this to slope intercept form. So I take the slope, or the 2 here, and I distribute. So step 1, distribute. So I distribute and I get y plus 3 equals 2x minus 4. After you distribute, then you're going to move, this is probably the worst way to explain it, but move whatever is with y. So what's with y? We have a plus 3, so I'm going to subtract 3. So then I have y equals 2x. Negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. So this is actually the equation that I'm going to graph. So I go to my coordinate plane. I have a slope in this case of 2, which is 2 over 1. And I have a y-intercept of negative 7. So I go down here. Okay, so there is no negative 7, but we can handle this because if this is negative 6, right here would be negative 7. So there's my y-intercept. That's where I begin. From there, I use the slope. So from the negative 7, I go up to right 1. And you can do that a couple of times if you want. You really only need to do it once and then connect the dots. There's my graph. I'm going to do 2 more with you just so that I know that I'm covering my bases here. And it gives you an opportunity to go back and rewatch this if you need to. I'll even switch colors up to keep it interesting for you guys. I know that they probably are, it's getting boring to watch these videos all the time. So for this one right here, again, this is in point slope form. So I'm going to convert this to slope intercept. Step 1, distribute. And I get y plus 6 equals 2x plus 4. After you distribute, you move whatever is with y. So this is a plus 6, so you subtract 6. And I get y equals 2x. Positive 4 minus 6 is a negative 2. There's the equation that I'm actually going to graph. This has a slope, whatever's in front of x is 2, which is 2 over 1. Slope you want to have written as a fraction. And then your y-intercept is whatever's being added or subtracted on the end, which in this case is a negative 2. So to graph it, start with B because that's where you begin. So you go down to, from 0, 0, you go down to, put a dot. There's your y-intercept. Then you use your slope. So from your y-intercept, I'm going to go up to right 1. From there, I go up to right 1. And you can do that a couple of times if you want. You only need to do it once. And then you just sketch it. Play connect the dots, which is always fun. So there's that graph. And then last one, oh goodness, we have a fraction. We're going to be okay. I'll even switch colors again. We'll do red. So first thing you're going to do again is distribute. So notice it's the same thing every single time. When I distribute, I have y minus 1 equals negative 1/2 times x is just negative 1/2 x, negative 1/2 times a negative 6. So if you don't know what to do with fractions, negative 1/2 is the same thing as negative 0.5. Negative 0.5 times a negative 6 is going to be a positive 3. Negative times a negative is a positive. Half of 6 is 3. Then you have to move whatever's with y. So I'm going to add 1, do the opposite operation. So then I have y equals negative 1/2 x. 3 plus 1 is 4. So there's my equation now in slope-intercept form that we're going to graph. My slope is the number in front of x. It's a negative 1/2. It's already written as a fraction. And then my y-intercept is 4. So when you graph it, you always start with the y-intercept. So we start with B, which is 4, positive. So I go up to 4, put a dot. Now I plot my slope. So this one, since it's negative, means instead of going up, I'm actually going to go down 1, right 2. So this means down because it's negative. This is positive, so it means it moves to the right. So I go down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2 a couple of times. If you want, you really, like I said, you only need to do it once. And then you play connect the dots. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, please make sure that you jump onto our Google Meets. Everyone that seemed to show up last week understood very well what was going on. So I hope to see more of you guys as the weeks go on that we're off here. So see you hopefully soon.